Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Calif, Lead Information Officer for the Alaska Interagency Incident Management Team, and it's an honor to be here on Crook tribal land and also with you all today. We know it's a weekday and it's also during business hours, so we have the camera recording so we can go ahead and post this, and then your friends and neighbors who can be here can watch this later. Just as a note of action, we already have the cold drinks out. There are agendas and handouts that you all have, that way you can follow along with the speaker list. We also have a bigger handout for you, is this map, so you can have it close to you as our operation chiefs give you updates on the exact actions we're taking on the fire. And then you also have a daily handout that is also posted on social media and all throughout town at the areas that our information officers go around. We also gave you an information card to just remind you that you have a phone number and an email that you can call or write to and get direct questions from my staff and this team, because we're here to make sure that every question you have is answered. We realize this is a very difficult and challenging time. We live in rural parts of Alaska that burn. My neighborhood burned down twice in the last 6 years, and I live in the black, so I really relate to this kind of challenge and the fear that it brings and the uncertainty. And we want to make sure you understand that we know that and we really do care. We're here to serve you for about 12 more days, 13 more days. We just started. So you'll see us again here. We'll do another meeting for sure next week. So this isn't the only time you'll see us. And you'll have access to us via that phone number, via our trap liners in town, email, or whatever. The high-tech or low-tech best serves you. I want to introduce first our incident commander, Norm McDonald, and he'll give us a leader's intent and overview, and then we'll pass it on to our operations chief. Norm?
All right, thanks, Cal. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Norm McDonald. I'm the incident commander with the Alaska team. Just a little, just kind of how we got here. We were ordered up last week. We spent 2 weeks off back in Alaska. We were in a monument fire right before this. Just before that, we were up in the Bootleg fire in southeastern Oregon. So we've been out in the western states for the last month and a half with our folks, and really glad we got a call to come here. This is a part of the state I really like. It reminds me a lot of back home in Alaska where we're from, kind of that rural setting, remote, hard to get to, and it's kind of a hidden little gem that I don't think a lot of people get to see. So we were really glad to get the order to come here and help you folks out, work with the Forest Service and Vicki and her folks. So we're glad to be here. So we arrived on Sunday. We spent the day doing a transition or a shadow day with Great Basin Team 7. That's the team that was here before us. And then the last 2 days was our days of operational control. So we've had about 48 hours to get our eyes on this, get boots on the ground and walk it. We had our operations folks flying it today and got a really good look at kind of what the challenges are, what we have in front of us, and what it's going to take to get this in a place where we can call it contained. And so the direction we have from the Forest Service, this is a full suppression fire. That means they want to keep this smallest footprint possible. But the reality is we're dealing with the resources we have. And as you all know, the western states, they've been really short this year. The teams here before us have been battling that shortage of resources from day one. So a couple of the good things that were happening to us here. We showed up on Sunday right about the same time. We got about 1.5 inches of rain, and we are going to take credit for that. We brought that with us. But that really did help us kind of get in a place where we can use some different tactics than they were being used before. Opportunities to go more direct, get right on that fire line and do some good work in there. So for the last couple of days, our folks have been out there and scouting that out and getting people right on that black edge, doing some good work and having success. The other thing that's happening now that the other teams had not had is the northern Rockies, so Colorado and Montana, that country that's starting to get some rain and cooling off a bit. That region 6, which is Washington, Oregon, is getting a little change in the weather. So some of those resources that were so hard to get just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, are starting to get freed up. So we've got 2 additional crews yesterday that the teams before us would have killed for, and we got them our first day here. So we've been pretty lucky and blessed to get the resources that we needed, and they showed up right at the same time the rain did. Really good opportunity to get some good work done. So we've got those folks in there working hard for us today. So we're going to have the operations folks in here. They'll give you a good overview of what they're looking at and the challenges they have. We've got some of the local forest folks in here to talk a little bit about the bigger picture and long term and answer questions. I think before I turn it over, I do want to say we have a real good opportunity here this next week to make some good progress. You've all lived here, I'm sure, a long time, and I know this is not done. There's still heat out there. It's looking really good now, but there's still a lot of pockets of heat. So we have some challenges in front of us. I think, but like I said, the good news is we're at that time where the days are getting shorter, getting cooler at night. That burn period's starting to shrink down a bit, and we are getting some resources that were not available. So I'll say we're looking a lot better than we had. We still got some challenges ahead of us, but like I said, we're starting to get the tools we need to do some really good work on this where we haven't had that in the past. I think with that, Kale, I'm going to turn it over to Ops. I'll be here on the sidelines and able to answer questions once we're done here. If you got anything for me, thanks.
All right, thank you, Norm. And first operations chief will be John Glover. He covers the north side of the fire. John.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for hosting us. Appreciate it. And thanks for finding some place with some shade because it's hot in your country compared to where we're at. A couple of things that we'll cover right off the bat. Not sure which map is best to use, but one of the things that we did when we got here was just recognize some of the operational challenges and limitations that we have geographically, north and south, pretty decent sized distance in between, and how we're best going to support it. So we basically split the fire into a couple different branches here. So we got a north and a south. We split our branches and also our operations section chiefs that we have. So I'm running north operations, which is basically right here at the break, and we picked an area right kind of in the middle here to identify the north and the south barriers. So I'll speak to this piece, and then Kyle will come up after a little bit and speak to the south zone. But anyway, so I guess I'll cover a couple of things. We do still have our structure group out working around in the community. We have that identified as North Structure Group. If you guys heard any of the kind of the traffic beforehand, it was formerly known as the Elk Creek Structure Group, but we've identified it as North Structure Group now, and they're continuing to assess and prep the structures along the kind of the imminently what were imminently threatened areas with the way the fire was progressing. So focusing on Elk Creek, all the way on up north into Happy Camp, then along the 96 corridor in all of those areas. So they're still out there prepping some of that stuff, troubleshooting pumps, validating things, making sure all the hose lays are still in place. I'm gonna fly. I was trying to get a hold of me. Sorry about that. But they're still working. They're doing good work. And as far as our folks that are on the ground, Division Juliet, things are looking real good all across this black containment line that we have in here that you guys see is good holding containment. That's held since we've been here. No challenges in that area. It's still continuing control and a presence in that area. But as we get up in a little bit closer into what we have as drop point 88 and 84 in this area, we have a couple of, as you guys know, the fire progressed and pushed over some of the dozer lines that they had along the ridges in there. With the rain that came in and the folks that Norm was talking about, a couple of hotshot crews coming in, we were able to get on that stuff, and we're holding where it's slopped over the dozer line. That's all holding in place, which is really, really good. So that's been successful. We have looked at a couple of different options to try and pick up the edge in here where you see this kind of green bowl where we have some unburned fuel between that and our main control line. There's a fair amount of it in there still, and a couple of road systems, kind of chicken ladder road comes up through there, and we got a couple of opportunities, but it doesn't go quite nice and tight to the edge like we like. Like Norm said, we have a couple of crews in, but we don't have a lot of crews in. It takes some pretty well-trained, well-versed folks to go in there and try and pick something like that up direct and hold it. And even with the resources that we've had, they've looked in there, we've assessed it, trying to figure out, is it the safest and smartest operation? And at this time, we don't feel like we can get in there and really pick that edge up direct and then backfill it with more people to try and hold it and keep it under conditions that are, kind of out ahead of us. So what we're looking at doing is cleaning up a little bit of this area in here as the fire progresses and backs down, and then holding it on the basically the road system that cuts through there, the Chicken Ladder Road, bringing it a little bit closer to the edge, and holding that piece right now. That's what's going on. We got a couple of different tools that we can use for that and resources, but that's our current plan for this pocket in here. Anytime we have pockets of unburned fuels, those are a pretty big heads up for us, because we don't want Mother Nature to get ahead of us and have adverse winds come down and push that across our control line. So that's a heavy area of concern for us right now. And then as we progress a little bit further north up into Elk Creek, stuff is going operations are going pretty well in Division November. As Chicken Ladder Road comes down, it kind of slopped over some of that stuff. But they got a great control line that comes off of that ridge. A little bit of slops in different areas on there, but they're holding that piece. We got one of the hotshot crews in there that have been working there for a couple of days, and they're having good success in keeping that in check and mopping it up and gaining some depth. And then, of course, as you know, as we get down into the drainages, it gets a little dirtier, a little more mosaic-y, but they have a good presence in there, and everything's holding in that piece right now as well. One of our other hotshot crews is working that lower end. Continuing on around, as we work our way kind of across the north flank of this and get up towards Huckleberry, most of this stuff, or actually all of this stuff, is holding well. There are a couple of slops, but we have resources on that. They haven't had any significant growth since we've been here. Oddly enough, as we see a little bit of activity, we've been blessed with receiving a resource kind of right at the appropriate time to engage them in it. So it's been good, and sure, you guys, I've been to Happy Camp quite a few times in my career, and it's rare that we have this much clear air, and you can see the mountain tops and the ridges. And it was funny, one of my buddies that fought fire with a long time, we were like, man, this place is really beautiful. Most of the time we've been here, we can't see the ridges. So you guys really do live in a beautiful place, and with our view increasing, we've had a lot of opportunity to fly our complement of air resources. So we have a fair amount of heavy helicopters that have been up in here holding some of this stuff up on Huckleberry, where it's in the wilderness. We can't bring equipment in there like dozers and stuff like that. It's not super conducive to that. It's checked up into a lot of the old burns. But as you guys saw on the progression of this fire, you guys have a heavy fire history here, and as it bumped into the scars, it held pretty well if they're within the past 8-10 years. But anywhere there was like unburned pockets within those scars, it tried to gain some ground, right? So right up in this area, there's a few of those pockets, and where the fire slopped over Huckleberry Ridge, there's still some heat in there. We've been running bucket ships up there the last couple of days, basically all day, as long as they can fly, and have had good success in holding that as we figure out a plan to engage more resources, ground pounding resources, crew members, and firefighters in there to tackle some of those challenges. We have a couple of good plans that we're looking to execute in the next 2 days, but in the meantime, we're holding that with air resources and monitoring it from the air as well. Some of the tactical challenges coming in there from the north, most of the road systems that actually get close to the wilderness, they're washed out, so we can't just get in there with UTVs, so we're just trying to figure out the appropriate way to engage resources in there, still with respect to the wilderness, and try and tackle some of that. So as far as the stuff on the eastern side, a lot of that stuff is burned into the frying pan scar. Most of that stuff's all holding well. Things are looking real good. As we gain ground coming across the top, we'll look at seeing any problem areas that we need to address on the east side as well, but not a whole lot of easterly progression in the last few days since we've been here, at least on the north end. So anyway, that's what we got for an update. Again, we appreciate you hosting us here, and thank you for your patience and tolerance as we just kind of overrun your town and your community, but hopefully the folks are being respectful and you aren't having challenges. And if you are, I'm around Happy Camp in the mornings and in the evenings, and I'd be happy to address any concerns that you guys have, and I'll take questions at the end as well. So thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kyle Cowan. I'm also one of the operations section chiefs for the Alaska Incident Management Team. So as John described, he's the field operations for the north side of the fire, and I'm the field operations for the south side of the fire. kind of that branch break is there on the Independence Road, and then over on the other side near Marble Mountain. And so I'll just kind of walk you through what we've got going on the southern side of the fire, and then I'll also talk a little bit about the little marble fire that we've got over on that side. So I'll start with structure because I usually forget to speak about our structure folks. So what used to be the Highway 96 structure group is now the South structure. They've primarily, again, been working around the Salmon River Road today, so there's been a lot of activity in there. It's been in close coordination with our resource advisors, both the Forest Service and the Travel Resource Advisors, just to make sure that folks want any kind of work done around their homes, just to make sure that we're not being intrusive anywhere that folks either don't want us to be or that we don't need to be. So there's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of work with our resource advisors on where we're working our structure group. So that's it for our structure folks. They've got quite a bit of work to do along that Salmon River Road corridor, so I think we'll be there for the next several days. The other piece on the structure that I wanted to mention is yesterday we were able to send some folks into Woolly Creek and check out our structures that we've got sort of in here. What looked to be about a 5-mile hike each way turned out to be about a 10-mile hike each way. So we had a couple folks go in yesterday, good hardy young men that really enjoyed the hike. They were able to go validate that the structures were still standing, that the rapids held up really well, and they were just, they couldn't believe how well those cabins were wrapped and how well the folks did who executed that plan. So kudos to them. So everything looked really well there. That was yesterday. Today in that same general area, as of about an hour ago, we started doing a little bit of bucket work just to kind of keep things in check. Our goal is to keep the fire on the north side of the Staniker Ridge. So we at this point, that's a holding feature for us. We prefer not to have the fire go on the other side. So anyway, we're just trying to check it up right now with the helicopter. So we've been doing bucket works as of about an hour ago just to kind of check things up. We've also had air attack keeping eyes on the fire to the east for us. And as of yesterday and then again today, there's not been any movement necessarily as the fire just kind of squirts around a little bit. There's not a ton of heat, but obviously there's a couple places where that fire could get some legs and move around a little bit. So anyway, we're keeping an eye on that. Our goal first is to secure this, and then also take a look at the fire to the east. Let me cover the Little Marble fire real quick. So that fire we inherited, it was they already had a containment line around it. We've got a Wildland fire module on there. They've been there for the last couple of days. They actually they got inserted yesterday, and then they'll begin the pack mules will haul all this stuff out tomorrow, and then they'll begin hiking out the next day. So anyway, there was a little bit of heat whenever they got there yesterday, and then again today there was another snag that they had to take care of. So that piece of it looks good. So I'll just kind of walk you around our divisions real quick. Division Delta, Ezra Butterfield is our division supervisor. We have in there. We've got a handful of resources with Ezra. The goal right now is to just to kind of make sure we can keep the roads open, make sure that we've got hose lays in the right place, make sure that everything's charged and operable in the event that we need to use it. There was also a lot of burned up hose, so they've been doing a bunch of backhaul in there. So that's kind of Division Delta right now is really trying to hang on to this piece. The fire scars that we've got in place right now, they seem to be helping us out a bit. So they're really just trying to capitalize on the favorable weather, the fire scars, and then trying to backhaul a bunch of equipment up in there that doesn't need to be in there right now. And then we're working our way into Division Tango. Division Tango, they've been busy validating the plan that was there before. So the plan before with the previous team was, if the fire did decide to get up and moving, what would we do with it in the event that it wanted to kind of sweep back around this way? So they have been busy validating that plan, trying to straighten out roads or suppression lines where they can. And that just means it's easier for us to use a straight line as a control feature rather than one that's all jagged and that's a little bit more difficult to hold. So anyway, that's kind of been their plan the last couple of days. At this point, they've been able to get some good vantage points where they can watch some of the fire towards the south, which is good. So that piece of it is looking good. Division Quebec, we've got Ezra Butterfield in there right now, or not Ezra, Justin Johansson, he's our trainee. They were flying it, again, trying to figure out a way to prevent any kind of fire movement towards the south. There's a couple of holding features in here, not many, but they're trying to capitalize on what holding features that we do have, trying to figure out what would be the best tool to maybe take the punch or take the heat out of what sources of heat we do have. So that's pretty much an overview of the southern side.
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. And again, at the end, you'll have access to both John and Kyle, and also Abe Davis is here. He's a branch director, so he'll have the ability to answer questions. Next up, Steve Bodnar. He's our incident meteorologist with a brief update for the next few days so we can understand what the weather might be. Steve?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us. And I just wanted to kind of give you an overview, maybe thinking, what is an incident meteorologist? And what we are specially trained meteorologists from the National Weather Service, and when there's a disaster, whether it be a wildland fire, earthquakes, landslides, we get ordered up to go and attach with the incident management teams like Team Alaska here to go out and provide on-site weather support, particularly just for that incident. So we can really just dial in and focus in on all the details impacting that incident. So more commonly, we're going to assignments on wildfires versus things like hurricanes. And the reason for that is you think about what influences a wildland fire. There's three things in a wildland fire triangle. It's fuels, so essentially trees, the brush, the grasses, topography, so the burning on slopes or flat surfaces, and then the third one is weather. And that's the one that's the most challenging and critical because it's always changing. And so that's where the meteorologist, the incident meteorologist comes in and tries to dial in and really kind of fine tune and comb that weather and what's happening on an hourly basis using tools like satellite, radar. We bring in observation networks from Boise and deploy them onto the fire so we can see what's going on every hour. Also, our main objective when we come as an IMET is first safety. Our goal is to make sure that the boots on the ground get home every night. They're out there fighting fire, and if that weather change is coming, such as a wind shift, we're there to get on the radio and radio out to them and let them know that's coming so they can, get off the line and get to safety. The other reason would be for tactics. We're working with operations and meetings throughout the week and giving them a heads up when there is, a wind shift coming or a pattern change, maybe 4 or 5 days in advance, so they can decide and make strategies where to put resources to the most critical parts of the fire now, and something that may not get overrun later on because of the weather changing. So that's kind of what we do as incident meteorologists. We also take credit for the really nice weather in Happy Camp sometimes. So I know we always get the finger pointing when the weather is really bad. So I will take credit for that. But also, it's just, to me, like Norm said, I was sitting at an evening shift back on September 5th when I got the call from our program leader, and he said, I got an assignment if you want over there in Northwest California. And I've heard from the other IMETs that have come out here to Happy Camp, it's not a great place to be. You're going to be in smoke for weeks on end, but I saw that opportunity, and much like Norm said, I jumped on it. I thought it was a great opportunity. I wanted to come out here and see your community, wasn't too worried about what it was going to bring. Didn't really know if the smoke would be here or not. So happy to be here. I am going to be leaving on Thursday. We will have a new incident meteorologist coming in to replace me. He's probably actually coming into camp right now as I'm talking. So yeah, you can tell by the beard, I've been here for almost 14 days, and we'll keep a non-stop watch on this area as a meteorologist standpoint. So yeah.
We'll take questions later, but can you give us a quick forecast the next 2 to 4 to 7 days?
Oh, yeah.
I know it's getting dry, but give us a heads up.
Yeah, that's where I was heading.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah, so real quick recap. You heard, that rain did bring about 1.2 to 1.4 inches of rain across the entire fire perimeter. It wasn't spotty. It was pretty widespread. So definitely welcome news. We had the high humidities, we had the cooler temperatures, but just like that, you guys live here, we saw the switch change. We went to a northeast flow pattern in the last 24 hours. It was fairly breezy up on our ridge tops there on yesterday, and now we've dried out and summer is back. And so looking ahead, today is kind of one of our warmer and drier days of the week. Tomorrow we do have a weak cold front coming through. It's going to knock our temperatures back down about 5 degrees and bring in some relatively higher humidities. We'll get a little bit more of that maritime air mass coming through. But just as that front departs, things switch once again, and we're going to see the wind switching back to the east and northeast right behind that on Thursday. So not a strong event. I know the easterly flow events here, are the critical fire weather patterns. This is going to just be another temporary offshore event, just enough to kind of warm things right back up to near to above normal temperatures and dry out our humidities back into that kind of 20 to 25% range. So then as we move into Thursday, Friday, we're going to continue to stay warmer than normal. Roughly in those 80s. Down here, we'll probably be touching right around 90 degrees, maybe low 90s, and continue dry. However, for Friday, Saturday, we're not looking for much in the way of any kind of wind. Just these kind of gentle flows that are mainly driven by this terrain around here. As the sun heats it, it moves the air around. And then as we go into next week, it looks like on or about Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe, we'll see another cold front coming into the northwestern U.S., northwest California kind of being on the tail end of that. But once again, it's going to shift the flow to onshore, bringing more maritime type air mass into here, so not as dry, not as warm. And there is a possibility we could get some more precipitation out of it. Right now, I wouldn't say it's going to be a whole lot. It doesn't look as wet as the last system we just got. But the pattern itself is something favorable for not going back into extreme critical fire weather conditions. And so that's kind of what we're looking at least through early next week. And some of the outlooks for the 8 to 14 days, so kind of going out another 4 to 5 days past there. Continue to kind of support that same pattern where systems moving in to our north, so just generally keeping more of an onshore flow for this area, and also potential for some chances of precipitation, but at this point I'm not going to promise anything substantial similar to what we just saw yet.
Great summary, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, have a good night.
Thank you, Steve. And next up, we'll have a brief report from Mark Koppel. He's the Air Resource Advisor. We know when smoke hits the valley is very concerning, and Mark will give us a little outlook maybe on what we might see in the next few days. Mark?
Good afternoon. So, like Steve said, as far as weather goes, the rain helped drastically. That's why we have very, very little smoke in the area. The ranges are pretty much good to moderate right now. And pretty much what that means is our instruments, we measure the PM 2.5. It's in micrograms per cubic meter. When you get above a range of 30, 40, that's when we really start to get concerned. Anything above that, you start seeing a haze. we've had very little of that since the rain event. So I do anticipate some smoke accumulating. I've noticed each day the trend's getting a little bit higher each day. In this area, it hasn't been an issue. With some interior smoldering, it will kind of just lay down into Woolly Creek drainage and creek drainage and run down into the Klamath. But as of right now, not much smoke production. Not to say it's not going to happen in the next week or so. Things could change, but I mean, just a little side note, I actually have been in this area for years, working for the states and the U.S. Forest Service, and this is one of the clearest times I've seen here. Normally, every time I get deployed up here, obviously it was for wildland fires, and it would be smoky. So if anybody wants to know more about our program, you can get on basically Wildland Fire, wildlandfiresmoke.us to tell you everything about our program, what we do. You can actually see the monitors. We actually have a monitor out here up above the ranger station. Kind of drove past it on the way in here. We deploy monitors throughout the fire area when we have permanent monitors and we have portable monitors. And these monitors, there's two different types. You've got the low-end monitors. You get on a website called purpleair.com. There's actually quite a few in this town. But those are low-end, what's called nephelometers, low-cost monitors. We look at those monitors for areas that they start to peak, then we put in a high-end monitor. You know what I mean? High-priced monitor. We're talking up in the higher ends of $30,000 a monitor. So they're very, very accurate. They give us the data that we need. It shoots up to a satellite, and then I see it on my web page, and I can pretty much graph trends and find out and forecast a day or two later. We actually produced what we call Smoke Outlook every day. Comes out in the morning and it's distributed throughout the whole trap line for all the fires. So feel free to take a look at that. That'll have all the information on it as well. So, but as far as smoke, things are looking good. I think we'll probably, maybe towards the end of the week, we may get into what to call unhealthy for sensitive groups. But I don't see the smoke turning into what we had last week unless the fire starts to really peak up. So, and that's it. And anybody has any questions, feel free to ask after. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Mark. And next up, Vicki Preston, our Crew Tribe. We call her the Crew Tribe Agency Representative. That's what's in our plan. But she'll introduce herself under a title that you might understand a little bit more. Vicki?
Yeah, thank you. No promises there, but yeah, I'm a Cutting Tribal Rep assigned to the fire. My day job, I work as a cultural resources technician out of DNR in Orleans, still for the Cutting Tribe. So I live in Orleans and I grew up in Orleans. And I live down there, and I work on the Orleans Volunteer Fire Department also. Basically just been a community member there my whole life. So I try and understand where folks are coming from and know a few of you in the crowd. So my role in the fire has been representing the Cutting Tribe, but also organizing and helping our folks who are out there on the ground and trying to translate and help out the team. As the teams change, our folks are always going to be with the teams, and so we get to meet all the new teams coming in and kind of give some local knowledge and try and explain the history of the place, and then explain how things are going now and in the community. And since we're on fires here every summer, we kind of talk about fires in the past and how things have gone and stuff. So and I have a lot of mentors on my side, so I don't really want to take credit for all that knowledge. I have a lot of folks that I work with at DNR and within the community who Kathy McCovey's on our team, and we have other folks on our team who get to advise us a lot, and so I kind of get to funnel all that knowledge and help advise the team in whatever way we can, to help protect people's homes and make it easier for folks to do their job out there and safer. We work alongside the resource advisors and the archaeologists who are out there also, and we have a lot of really important kind of tribal places within the fire area. So we have a lot of other specific cultural concerns in a lot of these like ceremonial and cultural areas. So that's kind of also another really important part of my job. And and I have a lot of love for the place, and so kind of bring that to the role, and get to be out in those places like I am all year, but it's great to be out in those places too, even on a fire. Realize how much we really do live in such a beautiful place, and everyone keeps saying that, but it really is true. So, I think after the rain, and it did clear up, I think I was really filled with joy. I saw other people dancing in the rain. And I felt that. We were talking, my crew was talking about that also, like on those rainy days when we were kind of laying low. I know a lot of us were just really in fire camp, really happy. And I think, the hunters are happy, and the fishermen are happy right now too. So there is some really, in the last so many days, there's been some really good stuff too, and it's kind of mixed in with the hard stuff. And so just kind of wanted to say that have a lot of respect for everybody here, and the team that's here has been pretty great. We've had some really good teams, which is really awesome to work with. And I want to say that, reach out to the information officers, the PIOs, and the folks on the team. They have a whole bunch of them, and they're all pretty friendly. So, reach out to them, and they're here tonight if you want to meet them in person, but reach out to them if you have questions. They've come up to me a lot, and I, want to say, they're really friendly. Go up to them and talk to them. And I'm a resource also if folks ever want to, talk to me. I'll be around and come up and talk to me if you want to talk to me. And we have folks kind of staying here in Happy Camp and staying in Orleans, and we're kind of bouncing around. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end. And just wanted to give a little overview. And thank you.
Thank you, Vicki.
Yeah, I can attest, Vicki. We've only been here 3 days, and she works from morning till night, and everybody wants to make sure that we're doing a good job for Vicki, because this is your land, and your sons and daughters come to Alaska. We want them to do a good job for us too, so we certainly want to be there for you all in every way we can. For the last presenter of today, on your agenda it does say Forest Supervisor. Roberto Beltran is in fact the District Ranger at Mammoth National Forest, but he's also an agency representative, and he'll close us out before our Q&A.
Yeah, good afternoon, folks. Thanks for taking the time to be with us here. I'm Roberto Beltran, the District Ranger here for Happy Camp Oak Knoll, and I just wanted to start out by addressing a few things that have been brought to my attention. A handful of folks have contacted me from the community wanting to get involved on the fire, and we've been trying to make that work. There is an ordering system and a process we have to go through, so just know that we're doing that to try to get folks gainfully employed. The Alaska team's very receptive, and we're going to work together to see what we can do to get some local folks on, but just realize there is a process that we can't circumvent. We got to go through the right channels, and it has to be in the best interest of what we're doing here. So just know that we're working diligently on that. And for whatever it's worth, there are a couple of local vendors from the Happy Camp area that are actively on the fire, as well as some from Orleans, from downriver there. But just wanted to give you guys a few thoughts, kind of how I'm seeing things here on the map. And some of it's already kind of been explained. We've got these various fire scars that folks are familiar with that we've had over the years. And what we're seeing is those more recent fire scars, less than 10 years old. The fire is burning in them, but we're seeing some real moderated fire activity. And like in Frying Pan here, the old Frying Pan scar, it's burning, but it's not really making significant runs. It's just kind of finding little pockets and fingers and burning. And at least I have a reasonably high degree of confidence that it's not going to chew through this and come out the other side. You know, and along the river corridor here, I'm very confident that we're going to hold it where it is. I mean, it is possible it could go across, but I think it's extremely improbable. You know, driving by there at night, there's not much heat, so I think we're looking pretty good. Along Iron Phone Road here between T-Bar and Patterson, very confident that it's not really going to move. Hopefully we can post this map for folks to see with the fire scars on it, but where there's pieces that are not burned, you know, that's where I think we're going to see some fire growth. And there has been some concern kind of in this area because there's a piece in here that doesn't have a recent fire scar, but it's pretty rocky, pretty sparse terrain, and I'm not saying there's not the potential for it to kind of creep around in there and make a few runs, but I don't really think it's going to really go anywhere. I would say, you know, the big areas for us to focus on, and all of you are savvy to this, having been here for quite a while, is this chicken ladder piece, and this team's making some really good progress, and they're really getting in there and getting after it while providing for firefighter and public safety, and I'm very confident that we're going to do well there. I would say, you know, from my perspective, this is the area that's going to be a real challenge down in here, coming out of Woolly Creek, and it is going to be a big concern to those folks in Soames Bar, Butler Flat, kind of along the Sand River corridor. So we're really trying to figure it out there, and I'm not saying there's not potential elsewhere, but I would say that that's really where we're getting our strategy together and kind of figuring out what to do. I'd say we've got a good plan for the chicken ladder area. And the proof will be in the pudding. We'll see what we can get done over the next week or so. And with that, I guess we'll move on to questions.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks for your patience. We're about 45 minutes into this. So let's do 3 or 4 questions for the big group. And then plenty of us will stay behind and we can socially distance and answer questions at these maps up close. So let's start with questions for the big group. Yes, sir.
I've heard different things. So there's the chicken ladder road, right? But then there's the bulldozer line, right? The containment line, which is actually more important, right? Because it's strategically placed. I've heard different things. Is that plumbed, right? Meaning hose lays, pumpkins, pumps, etc., or is it actually a dry bulldozer line?
Good question. Thank you.
All right, so up along Chicken Ladder Road is not plumbed, right? So that's got fire that's come across it in a lot of areas as you go further north. That's been cut out and snagged out, so it's accessible for firefighters to travel through. As far as the dozer line that connects up top and then drops down here at the division break, that is plumbed going across there. It's improved, and it's not only plumbed but being worked all the way up from the bottom as well. So a lot of water, a lot of tools, a lot of good hardy folks in there doing some good work.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
I wasn't confirmed on that. Awesome.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right, and I think you had a question.
Well, it was more for the district ranger.
Okay.
And now that the evacuation warning is off, what's going to be the status of Grayback Road?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, good question. I receive a lot of phone calls and emails about that. So in case folks are unaware, we did officially open Grayback and lift the Slater fire closure order. I believe it was late last week, so the road is open. However, the Rogue River Siskiyou side has a timber sale going, and we have been talking with them. My general impression is that they want to figure out how to keep doing their work and keep the road open. And on our side of things, it's open, and we're not going to change that for Grayback.
Because this closing roads for timber sales and that's something new. We've driven through those and around logging trucks and everything our whole lives. And you know, all of a sudden have you say you're not good enough and start closing roads because it's a little hard to swallow.
Yeah, I can understand the frustration. I mean, the Grayback Road's practically a highway.
On the Oregon side, it's actually a county road. It's not a Forest Service road.
The county does maintain it
Yeah.
under agreement with the Forest
They have
Service.
an easement, so what we show.
Okay, thank you for that. Any more questions for the group?
I guess I'm going to follow up with that question just a little bit. So, Roberto, the Happy Camp side on the Klamath is open, and thank you for keeping it open. Really, we all appreciate that. if I were to go up and over today, which I'm not, is on the Rogue Siskiyou side, down to Cave Junction, yes, I guess it's yes or no question. Is that currently open today and through this next week, or is it not quite known?
As far as I know, it's open. There's no closure order. You can drive through. So the answer is yes.
Great, thank you, Rupert. Appreciate it.
Are they aware of that on the other side?
Fully aware. I've been talking with the district ranger over there at least 3 times a week.
Thank you, Rupert. I just wanted to clarify that.
And just one follow-up, are they gonna give us warning if they do close it? So we don't go over there and all of a sudden find we got a locked gate?
Yes, we will. As we put out in the press release, you know, we're looking to do some more hazard tree work in the Indian Creek drainage, and if necessary, you know, we'll have some smaller closures if necessary for the pieces of road that we're going to work. You know, if we're able to award a service contract, but they will not; those closures would not impact Grayback itself for the foreseeable future. I mean, Grayback is open.
Your side looks great. Klamath side looks great, so, you know, I don't see you guys, you know, changing much, but the other side, kind of.
There's a lot of room up there for logging trucks and us.
Right. Well, you know, some of it, I mean, without getting too much into the weeds, you know, when they do set up and have operations going, there's some safety things that need to be met. You know, you can't have vehicles driving under the guy lines that are under high tension and logs swinging around. You know, it's just not going to quite be safe. But, you know, we'll figure that out when we get to it.
Okay, great, thanks. One more?
Actually,
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not a question. I just wanted to say thank you guys for all that had helping hand and saving the town. And, great.
We will, thank you. We'll certainly pass that on to the boots in the ground. There's 624 folks, and there's only about 20 of us here, so that the other 604 we'll certainly thank on your behalf. And I know that they appreciate all the support. It's been a long season for the firefighters, and I think everybody's rejoicing in being able to work hard, but in a beautiful place that you can actually see. So it's a true honor to be here.
Lets you know why we live here, doesn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah.
I want to follow up on that. There's been lots of success stories of this fire, actually. It's been incredibly well managed. Thank you. 2 amazing success stories are the T-Bar community in Patterson, the Iron Phone Road, and etc. Protecting all of our friends who live on that side of the fire, so important, right? And I could go on. Another one was a little bit of a risky move, but there was a firing op from Johnson's hunting ground down to Independence Bridge. And this happened a few weeks ago, maybe 16 days ago. That was a gutsy move, but it's incredible how well that was conducted. And I really believe that was the most strategic single op on our side, on the Happy Camp side, that was successful. And really, when you guys do an after-action review on this whole thing, that should really be studied in the risks that were taken and the rewards, how it was done, how successful. We're hoping that is contained and the Titus Ridge is contained. But that was a real, I think it might have been the Smith River Hot Shots and other crews. But just so you know, a lot of us really believe that was incredibly important. So I just wanted to point out the T-Bar success stories on that side, Johnson's Independent success story, and then the Chicken Ladder success story, which I'm hoping to have us all tell in the weeks to come, is so critical. And I live 9 miles up Elk Creek, so I'm been very much a part of this fire. So thank you guys all.
Thank you, and we appreciate you celebrating the wins. There's a lot of work to do, as you know, but we also appreciate your passion.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and end the formal portion of the presentation here. Again, we want to thank the group tribe, and Vicki and Kathy's here as well, for being so welcomed here, all of you for taking your time. The video will be posted online, and we'll go ahead and stay afterwards, but we'll go ahead and end the formal part here. Thank you so much.